What's up, AnimeBallZ fans? Ray here with another exciting installment of What's New Japan, the segment where I bring you all the latest news of all the anime that's coming out from Japan right now and tell you about it in the hopes that I talk about one of the anime that you may find interesting enough to check out when it gets an English release. Anyway, that's what I'm about, so let's get down to business. First up on my list this week is an anime called Hataraku Maousama. It follows the story of Devil King Sado, who's only one step away from conquering the world when he is beaten by hero Emilia, and he's forced to drift to another world. That world is modern-day Tokyo. As conquering the world seems to be the only skill that the Devil King possesses, and that is a skill that's obviously unnecessary in the new situation he finds himself in, he must work as a freelancer to pay for his living expenses. So, it's a concept that's been done before, but it'll be interesting to see how they make it their own. As far as I know, Devil Kings living in modern-day Tokyo and having to work as freelancers to pay for living expenses is mostly a new concept, but I could be mistaken. Anyway, it definitely looks very comedic, very entertaining. I'm going to definitely recommend this one to you guys. Next up on my list is an anime called Susei no Gargantua, and it's set in the future, with like a lot of anime this day, but it is centered around a huge war that's been going on between the Human Galactic Alliance and a grotesque race of beings whose name has not been revealed yet. Anyway, during a battle between these two forces, the young lieutenant named Red and his humanoid mobile weapon chamber are swallowed up into a distortion of time and space. Red arrives on a city fleet called Gargantua. With no knowledge of the planet's history or culture, he is forced to live alongside Amy, who is a 15-year-old girl who serves as a messenger aboard the Gargantua fleet. Now, it's starting to sound a bit like a crossover between a sci-fi anime and a sort of slice of life, sort of girly anime a little bit. And if it follows the formula that I'm thinking it'll follow, then eventually Amy will develop a crush on Red, and Red will have to risk his life several times to protect her from massive dangers from this grotesque race of beings whose name we still don't know, and it may end up in a huge climactic gambit of explosions and awesomeness, which will probably end in Red making heroic sacrifice, and I may have just foreshadowed the entire series. I'm sorry about that. Either way, it's definitely sort of like a, I'd go so far to say maybe a Cardcaptor Sakura meets Gundam Wing sort of thing. It's not my sort of thing, but I'd still recommend it to people, as long as they're not going to get too alienated, a little bit of a pun, as long as they're not going to get too alienated by the girly girl or on the other side of the mecha, then definitely check this one out. Finally on my list for this week is another mecha anime that's set in the future, but one that I have heard a little bit of news about and I'm really looking forward to it when it finally airs. It's called Kakumeiki Valvrave. Now, the story is set in an era where 70% of the human race lives in space due to the development of space cities, and between two major powers, the Dorushia Military Pact Federation and the Atlantic Ring United States, there is a small neutral nation called Jiruju that has prospered economically. The protagonist's name is Haruto, and he's a high school student who lives in this small neutral nation. And he happens to encounter the mysterious forbidden humanoid weapon named Valvrave when the Dorushia army decides to invade. So it's very quickly building up the story of one small, insignificant person against pretty much the entire world And kudos, because that is a story that isn't really explored all that much. It has been explored a few times, but usually the one lone insignificant human is joined by a group of small, individually insignificant humans, and they form a team of some description, and it just turns into Power Rangers pretty much. But this one definitely looks like it's being built up to be just the one guy, maybe 2 or 3 friends, but mostly just him. Now, the reason I'm actually really excited for this one to come out is because the director of this series is none other than Kao Matsuo. Now, he's worked on quite a few different anime. He's worked on Mobile Suit Gundam 00, he worked on Rosen Maiden for quite a bit, and he's even done a couple of episodes for Cardcaptor Sakura, all of which were really good anime. Some of them actually feature pretty predominantly on my list of favorite anime, but I'm really, really looking forward to this one. It's broadcast, or the first episode is broadcast in Japan on the 12th of April, so we still have a little bit of time to wait for it. Well, at least at the time of recording we do. But it's going to be absolutely epic. I'm definitely going to recommend this one very strongly to everyone. This is my number 1 recommendation for this week. So at the end of another week of What's New Japan, I've given you 2 anime that are set in the future in a sort of mecha sci-fi world, and I've told you about an anime where the Devil King has to travel to modern day Tokyo and work as a freelancer because he doesn't have any skills and he needs to pay his rent. It's been a bit of a mecha heavy week this week. Hopefully one of those anime appeal to your sense of judgment and taste. I'm Ray. This has been another episode of What's New Japan. Catch you on the flip side.